Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're taking a look at the newest legendary Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, NECROZMA. NECROZMA has arrived at GoFest Sendai, and you can encounter it by doing a remote raid. However, it's important to note that the shiny is only available to in-person ticket holders, and the ability to fuse it into Dawn Wings or Duskmane is also only available to ticket holders for now. So today we're taking a look at the base form of NECROZMA in the Ultra League, because obviously I have no way to get that amount of XLs. After doing a remote raid, I was shocked to discover that I actually got the perfect IV NECROZMA. This is not something that normally happens to me. My last legendary hundo was in 2022, so I'm amazingly excited to get to go to GoFest New York City in July and get to fuse this into Dawn Wings or Duskmane. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's test out base form NECROZMA in action in the Ultra League. Hopping into the first match, picking up a great lead, Shadow Alolan Sandslash versus Giratina. NECROZMA, as I mentioned, is going to be at its best in the Master League, and the fusions are going to be substantially better than the base form. Currently though, fusion is locked to the in-person GoFest. It should have the global release at the global GoFest later in July. Unfortunately, my switch was not the fastest here, sending in the Gliscor, so they end up winning Charge Attack priority. I'm a bit surprised they ended up shielding here. They are really trying to make a play for switch. NECROZMA is built for Master League play, so it has a pretty monster attack stat. Its attack stat means that it's not going to be the tankiest thing around in the Ultra League, so I decide, you know what, I don't really want to go shields down. Instead, I'm just going to save a shield for NECROZMA. In comes NECROZMA. Opponent is going to pivot into a Tentacruel. Oh boy, they are going to regret that decision. NECROZMA farming up, going for the Future Sight. Hello, Tentacruel. Goodbye, Tentacruel. One hit KO. NECROZMA not messing around. In comes the Giratina. Giratina obviously would be a terrible matchup for the NECROZMA, so I'm just going to switch into the Shadow Alolan Sandslash and fire off the Ice Punch. Ice Punch will do some pretty solid damage. I can tank whatever they throw here. It is going to be the Shadow Sneak, so no attempt at a boost with an Ancient Power. I'm just going to go for the Ice Punch right away. I need to try and just get rid of the Giratina, because once the Giratina's gone, my opponent doesn't have a win con. They send in the Poliwrath. Poliwrath will get the counter down, but Poliwrath is unable to double up before NECROZMA makes the Dark Pulse. NECROZMA's pacing is not the greatest. Dark Pulse, I believe, is 7 Shadow Claws to the first. But the good news is they're low enough that a Dark Pulse, even at -1, is still going to be able to KO. So we're able to take the win in our first game with NECROZMA. Moving into game 2, and things get quite a bit more difficult. Alolan Sandslash versus Golisopod. Safe switch, and this is really tough. The safe switch into the Gliscor, answered by the Alolan Sandslash. Sandslash will go for the Ice Punch, double super effective damage, but I can barely survive and make it to the Earthquake. Earthquake would threaten some big damage. Opponent is going to respect it with a shield, so I get a shield advantage out of the mid-game. But unfortunately, I wasn't really thinking about Golisopod when I put together the team, and Golisopod is a big core breaker. It does very well into Sandslash by walling its energy, and with Shadow Claw, it's going to do a lot of damage to NECROZMA. Drill Run will connect. I'm going to overfarm, go for a Drill Run of my own, and they've taken enough damage that this will be lethal, so it is going to be able to pick up the knockout. They send in Poliwrath, I send in NECROZMA, they switch into Golisopod, and Golisopod is going to begin to start spamming out charge moves. I have to shield everything here. I have to keep NECROZMA healthy. NECROZMA continuing to farm. I'm going to fire off the Dark Pulse bait. Dark Pulse, I don't believe, would be enough to KO here. I'm probably going to need to land a Future Sight if I want to pick up the knockout, because Future Sight, of course, does get the same type of attack bonus. That animation by NECROZMA is hilarious, by the way. Oh my goodness. I'm going to overfarm as much as I can and go for the Future Sight. I know this will KO. It's all going to come down to, can I make the Future Sight versus the Poliwrath? It's going to be close. In comes the Poliwrath. I get to the Future Sight, but the counter KOs, and I resign the match. Moving to the next match, going up against Cooljoy 04, and we have a Sandslash mirror. Typically, in the Ultra League, this mirror is a lot less risky, because you can actually survive a Drill Run. So I'm very okay with just letting this go. My opponent ends up baiting with an Ice Punch, and that immediately gives me a massive advantage in this game. Drill Run will be shielded by my opponent. I'm going to continue to farm up. At this range, obviously a Drill Run would easily KO, so I am going to be shielding here, and then just looking to overfarm and watch for a potential catch. So I'm going to farm up, opponent goes for a catch on a Tapu Fini. I'm going to bang double Drill Run for later and send in NECROZMA. This way, even if I lose switch, I can potentially snipe their Sandslash later on. They fire off the Nature's Madness. That does quite a bit of damage to NECROZMA and gets the guaranteed defense drop. NECROZMA farming up, going for the Future Sight. Let's see this neutral damage. connecting onto the Tapu Fini, and NECROZMA is able to win the zeros. Back in comes the Sand Slash. Their clock's not yet up, so I can send in my Sand Slash and fire off both drill runs. Drill run number 1 gets shielded. They still can't switch, and they're getting knocked out by drill run number 2. What is in the back? I have a shield advantage. I have a Sand Slash. It's their own Gliscor. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Great lead in the next match, Shadow Alolan Sandslash versus Zygarde. This is exactly what I was hoping to see. Zygarde staying in the matchup. They're going to bank energy, send in the Skeledirge. I'm able to switch into the Gliscor, but honestly with this team, I don't have a really good check to Skeledirge. I send in the Gliscor, try and call the bait, but it's the Shadow Ball. I decided to just fire off my move. It's not at the Earthquake, but they could shield, trying to protect against a potential Night Slash. Can I make another Aerial Ace? No, the Incinerate damage registers, and I'm in an incredibly tough spot. I know they only have a Disarming Voice banked, so I'm just going to send in the Sand Slash, fire off the Drill Run, and Drill Run should be able to pick up the knockout here. Drill Run shielded, opponent will fire off the Shadow Ball, so it seems like they may not have amazing responses to the Sand Slash. For Sand Slash, I'm just going for the Drill Run right away. It's not the best timing, but I didn't want the Incinerate damage to register, so that will pick up the KO. They have XL Lantern in the back, and this does feel winnable. It's going to be a tough game, but this does feel winnable. The issue is they're very close to a Crunch on the Zygarde, and Crunch would do a ton of damage to NECROZMA, and it would knock out the A-Slash at this range. So I'm just going to look to massively overfarm, try for a catch, but we simultaneously switch, and that unfortunately means that I've lost this game. Crunch will connect, they don't get the debuff, but unfortunately my opponent is just going to be able to farm all the way down. I have a move on A-Slash where I can deny their energy and win charge attack priority, but I didn't get the catch of the Lantern move. So Lantern can just win this game. I'm forced to fire off the Ice Punch to deny the energy from Zygarde, but Lantern has a Surf loaded. So unfortunately for me, failing the catch does mean game over. XL Lantern is going to be able to KO the Alolan Sandslash. This was my final set of the day, so I asked some members of my Discord to do some practice Ultra League battles, so we have some practice battles for the remainder of the video. We've got a great lead, but a very tough switch, leading A-Slash into Cresselia. Opponent safe switches Skeledirge, and again, this is such a problem Pokemon. I'm going to call a bait. I do call the bait correctly this time, which is quite nice. I will fire off the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace bait does get the shield from the opponent. The Incinerate barely does not KO. Let's go Gliscor. Gliscor making the Earthquake, forcing the second shield. In comes NECROZMA. NECROZMA, I'm going to go for a double shield farm down play, because that way I can exit with energy. And we know that NECROZMA is going to be doing quite a bit of damage. I love the animation by NECROZMA. I end up shielding up, getting the farm down. They send in the Cresselia, and let's see this Dark Pulse damage. Now, NECROZMA is not a Dark type, so it is not going to get same type attack bonus, but it still does quite a lot of damage there. I'm going to farm up, look for a catch. My catch attempt is unsuccessful. In comes Annihilate, and this is going to be very tough. I build up to the back-to-back Ice Punch. His opponent fires off energy here. Does a Night Slash KO? It's just an Ice Punch. An Ice Punch is not going to KO. I'm going to go for the back-to-back Ice Punches, but I do want some farm on NECROZMA, so I'm going to have to try and go for an Undercharge here. I go for an Undercharge on the Ice Punch. Does it put it in 3 claw range? It does. That's massive. In comes Cresselia, and if I survive the Moonblast, then I should be in a good spot. Moonblast connects, NECROZMA tanks that damage. So even though it's a Master League Mon and we're playing it in the Ultra League, it still does have a little bit of bulk to it. And NECROZMA, again with that really cool animation, knocks out the Cresselia and secures the win. Moving to the next match, Shadow Alolan Sandslash versus Ampharos. Ampharos, a bit awkward for this team, even against Sandslash, which has Drill Run. I mean, the Volt Switches just do so much damage over time. I bait with the Ice Punch, I'm able to get the shield, I switch into the Gliscor, my opponent is going to fire off energy, and this works out great for me. I just need to not get Brutal Swinged on NECROZMA, because that would do too much damage. In comes Clefable. Clefable is going to be met with an Earthquake. They're already down a shield, so I'm not expecting them to commit their second one, so full sending makes quite a bit of sense. Opponent is going to fire off their energy. They full send the Moonblast, then pick up the KO. I'm going to go for a one shield farm down with NECROZMA, because NECROZMA's energy can go quite far here. And they still do have the Ampharos. Ampharos does have a Brutal Swing loaded, and I believe 1 additional Volt Switch of residual energy. Are they going to send it in? Yes! And they just fire off their move right away. I'm going to commit the shield, and now I have a choice to make. Do I bait? Do I nuke? I decide to go for the nuke. Full sending the Future Sight. Do they respect it? They do. Opponent switches into Tentacruel, And I guess they're realizing Tenta just has nowhere to go. I fire off the Future Sight. Let's see the damage. Massive damage to the Tentacruel. I can't quite get the farm down. So instead, I'm just going to go for a catch. I catch the Scald onto the Alolan Sandslash, and I should be 2 Shadow Claws away, but I lose Charge Attack priority. This is going to be a really close game. I don't know who wins Charge Attack priority between Ampharos and Necrozma, so I'm just going to go for the Dark Pulse as soon as I get it and hope that this is enough to KO. Let's see. Come on. Dark Pulse leaves it on 1 HP. Had I played the Charge Attack priority, I actually win the game. I looked it up and I learned after the fact that Necrozma does win Charge Attack priority there, but I didn't trust it, and unfortunately that ends up costing me. Moving to the next match, pretty okay lead, Shadow Alolan Sandslash versus Como-O. Opponent save switches into Greedent, and I'm going to respond with the Shadow Gliscor. Gliscor going to be hit with the Crunch, opponent fishing for the debuff, but they do not get it, so a little bit of good luck does go my way. I'm going to full send the Earthquake. I just want to try and get shields down, because whether I have switch or not, as long as I can get shields down, then Necrozma can just hit things with Future Sight. They go for another Crunch. They do not get the debuff again, so I'm definitely having some nice luck. My opponent not having great luck with the Crunch debuffs. They go for one more, still fishing for it, and there's the debuff, but they got the least important debuff there. You really want to try and get the first one, and they ended up getting the last one. I'm just going to let this go, and then I realize, oh wait, I have 2 Shadow Claw users. How am I going to get rid of this squirrel? I'm just going to send in Necrozma, look for a 1 shield farm down, because Necrozma, I mean, with energy, it can hit stuff very hard. So I will commit the shield on the Crunch. Opponent is going to send in Como-O. They get another Crunch debuff, and I'm full sending the Future Sight. This is going to do a ton of damage. Opponent is going to commit the shield. I try and go for the catch. I'm unsuccessful, and this could be the close combat. I decide to commit the shield. It is going to be the close combat, and I'm going to massively overfarm and go for the Ice Punch before they're able to make their next move. Ice Punch is going to be able to pick up the knockout due to their lower defense. What do they have in the back here? They're thinking about it. It's Skeledirge, and this is just a loss, unfortunately. I'm just getting farmed down and getting Shadow Balled here. I fire off the Drill Run. That does massive damage. Opponent switches into Greedent. They were worried about getting farmed down by Shadow Claws, but I think they could have lived those Shadow Claws. Greedent KOs with a Body Slam. In comes Necrozma. Necrozma, am I 2 away? I'm 2 away. Oh my, that game looked doomed. The opponent didn't trust the farm down. They switch out, and Necrozma gets the perfect farm off of Greedent and is able to somehow take the win. We've got some great spice from the opponent in the next match, leading into an XL Meganium. Oh my goodness, you love to see it. I will fire off the Ice Punch. Opponent is going to no shield, farm up, switch into the Gliscor. The question is, did I catch the Earthquake, or were they going for the bait? It's the Earthquake. That's a massive catch. Opponent stays in with Meganium. I'm just going to over farm because I'm worried about a potential catch, but my opponent just stays in. They stay in, they fire off the Frenzy Plant. That does big damage, and they're now going to send in Galar Moltres. Oh my goodness. The opponent bringing the absolute spice. Galar Moltres would typically wall Gliscor's energy, but I do have Aerial Ace. So Aerial Ace will be able to hit for neutral. Can I get one more? No, I cannot. Now Moltres, its hardest hitting move is going to be Payback, and I can survive it, but I will do quite a bit. The Payback connects. That does a ton of damage to the Sandslash. Oh no. Sandslash going to be firing off the Ice Punch. Ice Punch is going to be able to pick up the KO. And now, are they going to send back in the Meganium? No, they send in the third. It's Zapdos, and I'm in trouble. I think I'm going to have to call a Drill Peck bait or shield a Thunderbolt to try and win this game. In comes Necrozma. Shadow Zapdos hits very hard. It all comes down to this. Do they bait? Do they nuke? I call the bait. It's the nuke. Thunderbolt connects, and that does way too much damage, and I think with that, I've lost the game. Shadow Zapdos just way too scary, and they're going to be able to get a full farm down. And now the question is, can Sandslash somehow pull this off? Opponent going to try and fire off the 3 Drill Packs. They go for Drill Pack number 1, but every time they throw, I do get 1 Shadow Claw through, which is getting closer and closer to farming down the Zapdos. They switch into Meganium, need the farm down to win, but it's a Simul KO with the Zapdos in the back. Opponent takes the win. And we've got a different kind of Zapdos in the final match, leading into the Galar Zapdos. Yeah, you absolutely love to see the spice there. I fire off the Aerial Ace. Opponent is going to commit the shield, and I've learned by now to definitely watch out for a potential Brave Bird. They try for the Aerial Ace catch. They send an XL Bronzong, And the spice, oh my goodness, let's go. Opponent is going to be forced to fire off energy. Nice overfarm there, making sure that I can't get the earthquake. I decide they're probably not running bulldoze, so even if it's like a payback at worst, I can survive a payback. And I just want to get to an ice punch plus a drill run, because I have the drill run for the Bronzong as the payback connects, and then I have the ice punch for the Galar Bird. The bird will win charge attack priority, but I can just shield and get rid of it with the ice punch. So I'm watching the top right here, checking what typing do they send in here. It's the bird, and unfortunately looks like my opponent got one turn bring in there. So they should have been able to win charge attack priority and force a shield. The one good thing for me is that it doesn't end up mattering because they have the muck in the back. So even if I only had one shield here, I could still just shield and make the future sight and win the game. So luckily, the game inconsistency didn't affect the outcome, but it's still definitely disheartening to see. Future sight, bye-bye muck, my goodness, the damage. And that is a good game. All in all, this was a surprisingly fun Pokemon to use. It's definitely a Pokemon better suited for the Master League, and the fusions are going to be far, far better than the base form. I'm just honestly a little bit at a loss for words of the fact that I finally got a Hundo, and it's a really good legendary Hundo as well. My last one being in 2022. It's been over a year and a half since I last got a legendary Hundo, so I'm over the moon to get a really valuable one. I'm going to be holding on to this for GoFest New York City, which is the in-person GoFest that I'll be attending, and then grinding those raids like crazy, fusing it, and then hopefully getting to showcase some level 50 Dawn Wings or Dusk main content. Now, we'll definitely have that content for sure during GoFest New York because I'll be there. We may even get it sooner if someone's watching happens to be at one of the sooner GoFests and decides, you know what, I'm going to build it and submit battles. So keep an eye out. We may have that sooner if someone ends up submitting those battles, but for sure, guaranteed when I'm in GoFest New York, we'll have Hundo, Dawn Wings, or Dusk main content on the horizon. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.